So this is going to be my official Vasyl Lomachenko versus George Kambosos prediction. This fight is going to be for the vacant IBF lightweight title. It's taking place on May the 11th in Australia. Let's start by going through the tale of the tape. Vasyl Lomachenko stands at 5'7". He has a 65.5-inch reach. He'll be 36 years old by the time this fight takes place. He's a southpaw, he's a double gold medalist, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's a former 3-weight world champion. His record reads 17 wins, 3 defeats with 11 wins by knockout. Although his record should be 19-1 because he got robbed in the second professional fight against Orlando Salido that had 40 pounds on him and got help from Lawrence Cole, the referee, and low blowed him accounted 40-some odd times. And he also got robbed for the undisputed lightweight champion of the world versus the Devin Haney. So his real record is 19-1-11 and he should be undisputed right now. George Kambosos stands at 5'9". He has a 68-inch reach. He's 30 years old. He's an orthodox fighter. His record reads 21 wins, 2 defeats. Both of those losses coming from Devin Haney. He has 10 knockouts. And also, we have to throw in there that George Kambosos just got a gift decision in his own right versus Maxi Hughes. Now, Maxi Hughes proved to be a better fighter than most people were giving him credit for, but George Kambosos looked god-awful in that fight. I'm happy that Vasyl Lomachenko is getting another crack at a world title. He has to go on the road to get it. He's a real road warrior, just like his counterpart Alexander Usyk is. George Kambosos has good hand speed. He doesn't have a lot of power though. And I know what you're going to say, well, he knocked Teofimo Lopez down. Yeah, but Teofimo Lopez is a little bit chinny, if we're being honest. Sandor Martin, who hits like a feather, dropped him twice, all right? Look, man, this is a good fight for Lomachenko at this stage of his career. Like I say, Lomachenko's been getting a lot of hate for this fight, which is ridiculous considering he just got robbed, blatantly robbed against Devin Haney, in which he should have been crowned the undisputed champion of the world. So the hate that Lomachenko is getting for this fight is just ridiculous because nobody had a problem with Teofimo fighting Kambosos and nobody had a problem with Devin Haney fighting Kambosos twice. And we didn't even need to see a rematch. So why is it a problem that a paced prime Lomachenko, who just got robbed out of his undisputed crown, is fighting Kambosos for another title at 36 years old at the butt end of his career, you know? But this is a good fight, man. Kambosos does have fast feet, fast hands, and he likes to lunge in there a little bit. He does have youth on his side. He is only 30 years old, whereas Lomachenko's 36 years old. He's a little bit taller. He's got 2 inches of height on Lomachenko, or 1.5 inches rather, closer to 1.5 inches, I would say. And he's got a 2-inch reach advantage over Lomachenko. But to be honest with you, I think this is somebody that's tailor-made for Vasyl Lomachenko. I think that Kambosos will come forward, he will let his hands go, and that's what Lomachenko wants you to do. So he can solve your puzzle, you know, manage his distance and use his angles and use his hand speed to eventually use your own aggression against you. And that's exactly what I expect Vasyl Lomachenko to do in this fight. I think that this fight, given the fact that both guys have good hand speed, given the fact that both of them have a lot of experience under their belt, I do think it will be competitive for a few rounds. But once Lomachenko starts getting his timing and his distance management down and starts really finding George Kambosos' rhythm, I expect this to be an easy night at the office for Lomachenko. And yes, Lomachenko is visibly past his prime. He just blatantly got robbed against Devin Haney, but I still think he has enough to the point where he's going to make an example out of George Kambosos. Like I say, I think this is going to be a competitive fight for a few rounds, but after Lomachenko gets in his groove, gets in his rhythm, I expect things to take a turn for the worst as far as George Kambosos goes. George Kambosos, man, this is another shot. This is another opportunity for George Kambosos to become a 2-time lightweight champion of the world. Big opportunity for him. Lomachenko is a little bit older. George is slightly bigger. He's slightly younger. And we can never take away the fact that George Kambosos did legit take Teofimo Lopez's ore away from him. And Teofimo Lopez is the one guy that, you know, legitimately beat Lomachenko, unlike Salido and unlike Devin Haney. So, you know, I expect George Kambosos, I expect him to give Lomachenko a good fight, and it is in George Kambosos' home country of Australia. So I think it's a good fight, especially for a past his prime Loma at this stage of his career, you know, and it's a good stylistic matchup. It makes for a fan-friendly fight. Both guys have a lot of experience at that high level, at the elite level. Both guys have a lot of hand speed, and both guys have fast feet. But ultimately, man, like I say, even though Lomachenko's a little bit over the hill, he is coming off a year-long layoff, which I think the older guys that are on the dark side of 35, I don't necessarily think that's always a bad thing. Taking a 10 or 11 or a 12-month layoff, I think it's actually going to be a good thing for Lomachenko. He got his head cleared after getting blatantly robbed against Devin Haney, and I expect Lomachenko to come in this fight very, very fresh and very well prepared, because he knows that if he loses this fight, it's over. The career is over. He's probably never going to get another shot at a world title. So I expect this to be a fan-friendly affair and a very good fight, and I expect both guys to have their moments. But ultimately, man, considering the way that George Kambosos has looked in his last performance against Maxi Hughes, I do think Lomachenko will eventually get into his rhythm, get the gears going, and he'll be able to time George Kambosos and use his angles and use his footwork to eventually really put the heat on George Kambosos. So for my official prediction, man, I'm going to say Lomachenko wins this fight. I'm going to say, you know what, just for the hell of it, I'm going to say Lomachenko stops George Kambosos in the 10th or the 11th round. Now, Lomachenko's power hasn't been what it was at 130 or 126. He doesn't have the same power at 135, and it's because he's been fighting bigger men. But yeah, man, I think it's competitive. I think it's a fan-friendly fight. It is for the vacant IBF lightweight championship of the world. But ultimately, man, I think Lomachenko's just going to be a little bit too much for him, a little too crafty for him, a little too diverse and ambiguous for George Kambosos to figure out. But both guys are, you know, speed kills, and both guys got a hell of a lot of speed. Both guys got fast feet, and both guys got a lot of experience at the elite level under their belt. But ultimately, I got to go with Lomachenko. I think Lomachenko is going to come out with a vengeance, considering he just got blatantly robbed against Devin Haney. So yeah, that's my 2 cents anyways, people. It's a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, everybody knows I'm a big Lomachenko fan, and I think it will be competitive for a handful of rounds, but ultimately I'm going to say Lomachenko gets him out of there and stops him towards the end of the fight in the 10th or the 11th round. I'm looking forward to it, and you know, we'll see what happens, bro. But yeah, good bounce back fight for Lomachenko at the end of his career after he beats George Kambosos, which I do expect him to do. I expect Lomachenko is probably going to have one more fight, whether it be against Shakur Stevenson or Emmanuel Navarrete. So he'll probably have this fight, one more big fight, and then I would presume that Lomachenko will probably finally call it a day and eventually hang the gloves up. So, but for my official prediction, like I say, I got Lomachenko getting Kambosos out of there. I'm going to say in the 10th or 11th round after a fan-friendly and a fairly competitive fight. That's my 2 cents. Anyways, guys, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and God bless you all, and thank you for watching the video, man. Take care.
If you love diving into the heat of this boxing rivalry and crave more adrenaline-pumping action, we've got you covered. But we need your knockout support to keep the bell ringing.